B-boy. From the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East coast to the west, B-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a B-boy.
Before I start, I have to say happy 50th birthday to hip hop, an art form that obviously changed my life. We wouldn't be here talking if it was not for it back in 73. You know, Kool Herc had no idea the movement he was starting. So it was supposed to be a fad when I was a kid that was just going to play out. Half a century later, hip hop is one of the biggest music forms ever. So we not only survived, we conquered. So happy 50th, hip hop. Now, B-boys and B-girls, we are back for the second part of season 3. My summer break is over, and you know, I may be middle-aged, but there's still a 16-year-old kid deep inside of me somewhere. And when I saw the first episode back was episode 69, I couldn't help myself. So this week, we're heading to Miami, Florida, to talk about a group who took freedom of speech to a new level, even the Supreme Court. Headed by Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke, Captain Dick, every teenage kid in the late 80s, early 90s had at least one copy of their album. Might have been bootlegged, but you know you had one. So today, we're getting explicit top 10 2 Live Crew songs. Joining me today, Surreal the MC, as always, Raven Hunter, and my man, Hurricane, not Liz Eaton. All right, I'll start off at number 10, and I'm taking us right there, right to 1989's As Nasty as They Wanna Be, the album that they're most known for. And I wanted to start with something from this album because this is the album most kids, even if you weren't a hip hop head, you know, like we were, almost every kid in our age now had this tape here, this Nasty as They Wanna Be tape. This is my original. The cover is ripped, but I got the tape, a big ass crack in it. But if you didn't have the tape, you had a dub of it or a copy of the copy of a copy. Everyone was listening to this tape. So the song I'm going with from As Nasty as They Wanna Be is Get the Fuck Out of My House, Bitch. This song just always made me laugh, and it still does now, all these years later. And it might not be a top 10 song, but I always use the number 10 slot to bring up something that just personally gets me. And Get the Fuck Out of My House, it just gets me every time. And you got Luke. Luke raps this entire song, which in this era was pretty rare. No Fresh Kid Ice, no Marquise. The Eddie Murphy sample in the beginning, it's either from Raw or Delirious, just brings a smile to my face. So Get the Fuck Out of My House, number 10. Surreal, what is your number 10?
Well, I know this is not the way we do it. I had 11
shit.
songs, and so I'm going to do a runner-up real quick because I couldn't get it to 10. And my runner-up song, and I know that's cheating, is Crew to Crew with Motley Crue off the Goes to the Movies CD. It's a runner-up because it's not the best song in my opinion, but it's a great idea. So that was Motley Crue and Two Live Crew on the Goes to the Movies compilation CD. That's my runner-up. I just wanted to point that song out in case we didn't bring it up the rest of the show. But my actual number 10 is from Boys in the Hood soundtrack, Hanging Out. Shut up, bitch. Boom. The drums, the beat is just ridiculous. So my number 10, Hanging Out from the Boys in the Hood soundtrack.
And, you know, looking back, Two Live Crew had a lot of really good songs on soundtracks, which, you know, that Movies to the Movies was all those songs. And, you know, like Hanging Out, this isn't a sex rhyme like they're known for. It's a really good song. I have more to say about it later. Spoiler alert. Raven, what is your number 10?
My number 10, I went with 1998 from The Real One, the song The Real One with Ice-T. Mainly just because that beat is smooth as fuck. Ice-T sounds great. It was like their last official album. It's one of the few things I really like off of that album. But yeah, I had to go with The Real One.
Yeah, another thing I'll have more to say about later. And I guess I'm just giving you my whole list at number 10 here. But you're right. Even if you take the Ice-T equation out of it, it's a dope song. And you're right. Anything done under the Two Live Crew name after that was either not all the members or it was, you know, that was pretty much what I look at as the last real Two Live Crew album, even though they put out some other stuff in the 2000s. Kane, are you gonna have something on my list? What's your number 10?
Maybe throw the D. I had to put it at 10 because like I feel like that's like their original song. Like I feel like that's the one that got them famous. You know, not the band in the USA famous, but like that's when I think Luke started paying attention to them and wanted to promote them and that whole journey.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize this, I don't think, is that Fresh Kid Ice and Marquise were from California. They were out in LA. Luke heard them and invited them down to Miami, and then they formed that group. But Fresh Kid Ice and Marquise, and I believe Mr. Mix too, might have been in LA. And it was those three, or at least two, who went to Miami and then, blew up with Luke. A lot of people don't know that. So, number 9, Surreal, You Read My Mind, Boys in the Hood soundtrack, 1991, Hanging Out. I already said that, just not a regular, sex rhyme, just like a day in the hood. But it's a dope beat, really dope soundtrack. And this, holds its own on a soundtrack with some damn good songs on it. So I got nothing else for it. Hanging Out, number 9, Surreal, what's your number 9?
Going soundtrack again. New Jack City, Two Live Crew, In the Dust. Looking at my list, I think I like a lot of their social commentary songs over their sex rhymes, maybe. But once again, it's a super dope beat, and it's we've talked about that soundtrack, I think, on the Ice-T show we did, but I mean, there's some R&B, there's some hip hop. It's a great soundtrack. New Jack City, and In the Dust kind of shines on there because it's one of that and the Ice-T song are probably the two hardest songs on that soundtrack.
Definitely. And that was my number 11 or 12. It hurt not putting it on there.
That's your runner-up?
That's my runner-up, is In the Dust. I love that song. I couldn't. I had to get the fuck out of my house on there. So I'm glad someone brought up that song. It was definitely an honorable mention. Raven, what is your number 9?
Nasty as they want to be, get the fuck out of my house, bitch.
Nice.
That song always makes me laugh, and I've done this with other artists that we've had. If you can make me laugh like Redman, you're gonna have to make my list. And to this day, I can still laugh at that shit. So
it did.
But you pretty much covered it. That song just hit.
It got me the other day. I'm listening to it and I'm laughing like I'm fucking 12 or something. Yeah.
But
It's
I remember
awesome.
I stole that tape out of my sister's bedroom when I was like 8 because I was looking for her Guns N' Roses tape, and the cover of that intrigued me. So I had to listen, and I remember that even back then that song used to just kill me.
All right, number 9, Kane. What do you got?
1 and 1. I remember listening to this song and then being in middle school or just getting into middle school or something and making up the nastiest stuff we could just to go 1 and 1 and 2 and 2 and just it probably helped spark some me wanting to rhyme someday, starting to do that stuff when I was a little kid.
That was another honorable mention, 1 and 1. And then at the end, he doesn't even rhyme. He just says, "She licked my ass."
No, Noise Wave used to cover 1 and 1.
Oh, for real?
We'd have like real heavy bass, and then we'd play guitar over. It was like a rock rap version of it. And when it got to the "lick my ass," we just all lose it.
No, that's classic Two Live Crew, and that just missed my list too. All right, number 8. Raven brought it up. I'm going to 1998's The Real One, and the title track, The Real One. Of course, features Ice-T on it, who has a dope verse. But Brother Marquise kills his 2 verses. He has a dope flow. He really brings it. And this is 3 songs in a row where there's no sex rhymes, which is crazy on a Two Live Crew list. But they really were more than just sex rhymes. I mean, a little more, but more. No Fresh Kid Ice, just Marquis and Ice killing it. And Ice is smooth as hell on his smooth ass beat. So The Real One had to get some love. My number 8, Surreal. What's yours?
Number 8 is from Sports Weekend. It's Who's Effing Who. I actually had the 12-inch single, which was called Who's Doing Who. But it's a song about STDs, and they were ahead of the curve on that. So, they had their nasty rhymes, but they also had some educational points in there. Who's Doing Who off Sports Weekend.
Yep. That was like the last track on that album, and they ended it with that social commentary. All right. We are at 8. Raven, what do you got?
My number 8, oddly, already been talked about. In the Dust from New Jack City. That song, it was hard as shit. He pretty much covered everything else, but Mr. Mix, always produced some hard ass beats. And around that time is I think when Fresh Kid Ice left the group the first time too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't remember if he was in that song anymore. But you're right. He came and went a few times because he had a solo album around that era.
Yeah.
Like right after Sports Weekend, I believe. All right,
Yeah,
In the Dust. I'm glad that people are bringing that up because I wanted to make it, but it didn't. Kane, what's your number 8?
Band in the USA. This song really made them, nationally famous. And it was revolutionary for the music industry, I feel, that, that hey, we can say what we want. Like we'll put the sticker on it, we'll make you 18 to buy it, but like in the song, they're like, these are adults coming to our shows.
Mm-hmm.
This is a choice. You don't have to come to it.
Every rapper, comedian, artist, anyone doing art has a little bit after this has a little bit to thank because it went to the Supreme Court and they won. That was really most people won't want to give them credit for being freedom of speech crusaders, but they really were.
Yeah.
If that would have went the other way, you might not even be able to put out a song with cussing in it, which is crazy. Yeah. And like Luke says, this is not China. This is not the place where they built that wall. No, but it's revolutionary, and another one that will be brought up again, but not quite yet because we are only at number 7. And I'm going to Sports Weekend. I'm going with Pop That Pussy. Okay, it's sex rhyme time. It had to come. This was the first single off of Sports Weekend, and it's just pure Two Live Crew. I think this is the last one released in their what I would call prime. After this, you got all those Luke solo albums, and the Two Live albums weren't quite the same. They did the new Two Live Crew, then they did the real one, but those just weren't the same. Fresh Kid Ice and Marquise kill it on here. Luke does his classic Luke hook. Dope scratching at the end, just dope. Pop That Pussy was a great single. Still got my head to bang. Sports Weekend, kind of underrated. You don't hear too much about this from people. So that was my number 7. Surreal, what was your number 7?
Well, my number 7 was Band in the USA. I believe that Band in the USA was released. It was released Luke featuring the Two Live Crew, and then there's just Two Live Crew. And I don't know. I can't remember if that was. Over the years there was the Luke Skywalker. The Skywalker got sued, so then it was Luke Records, and I know they changed the name, and sometimes it was Luke featuring, and then sometimes it was Joy Boy Records, and there was different distributions. So sometimes when I was going through their discography, sometimes it has sometimes it's just Two Live Crew. It's not the easiest discography to kind of like go over, just because all the licensing and record contracts and stuff. Band in the USA was my number 7.
It should make everyone's list. Like I said, it will make mine later. And Raven, I'll be very disappointed if it doesn't make yours. So don't disappoint me. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is actually Pop That Pussy from Sports Weekend. Somehow we always end up with the same fucking shit. But yeah, you pretty much covered it, and you will probably hear about Band in the USA again at some point.
All right. That makes me feel good. Yeah, it's almost every single list we've had exact sames on same numbers. It's bizarre. All right, Kane, what is your number 7?
Show You a Shot. This is just a typical Miami song, I feel. The real fast drum beat, the singing in the chorus, it just reminds me of all that stuff that was coming out of Miami at that time.
Mm-hmm. And you were there while it was happening, so you're hitting it before anyone else was. I mean, I always looked at Miami as that bass party.
That that
Right.
real fast. Yeah.
Right. All right, number 6. We are going back to a soundtrack. I'm going to 95's Friday soundtrack. Hoochie Mama. I couldn't keep it off the list.
Damn it.
I kept taking it off, but it's just so damn entertaining and catchy. It kept making it back on. It kept creeping back on. Iconic soundtrack. I mean, this is one of the best soundtracks ever, but this song fits in and is good. Faster beat, they keep up with it. You cannot hear this song and not sing along. You're not going to say hood red, hoochie mama. There ain't no way. It's just classic as it gets. Hoochie Mama, Friday soundtrack, number 6.
I'm disappointed I forgot about that one. I can't. Yeah, I know. That would have been on the list for sure.
Yeah. That can be your honorable mention. Yeah.
My runner-up, yeah.
Yeah, your runner-up. So Hoochie Mama, number 6. Surreal, what's your number 6?
Well, I'm breaking the rules once again, and this is from As Clean as They Want to Be, The Funk Shop. This is one of those where I actually like the clean version better than the dirty version. I know that's weird. And, you know, in the Midwest, I'm in Omaha. In the Midwest, there was like Shopko's and Pamida stores, and they would a lot of times only have the clean version. So you kind of got used. You know, I had all the NWA and Eazy-E clean versions too, but obviously the Fuck Shop's on the original version. But As Clean as They Want to Be, The Funk Shop.
And it's amazing. A group like Two Live Crew made clean versions of all their albums, all their singles. It's actually quite amazing that they could make clean versions out of a lot of that. And one of these cassettes back here is the Funk Shop, the black one. So I got the Funk Shop version of it too on cassette. Yeah, found that. Well, that's cool you brought that up. All right, number 6, Raven, what do you got?
Band in the USA. So I definitely, you know, it was iconic sound for them, and it was arguably, you know, their biggest point. And just that beat, you know what I mean? I don't know. I always loved that shit. And it meant a lot for music when shit like that was coming out. So, yeah, I had to make my list somewhere. I just couldn't take it up any higher because there's a lot of, you know, a lot of shit I like better. But
no, I'm glad it made everyone's list. Number 6, Kane, what do you got?
Coolin'. I love the horns. Definitely like the Fresh Kid Ice's part of the of that album. You know, I know Luke had his part. Everybody had their own
little section, right?
Yeah. So I was really liking that part, and it's different, you know. Than I know we brought up a lot of the non-sex music, but you know, when that on that album and that part, I was like, oh, this isn't all about, you know, it's not that whole thing. It was a cooler song. It was about cooling, like, yeah, that's why I liked it.
You know, obviously they're known for their sex rhymes, but you go back to the beginning, there wasn't as many sex rhymes as it ended up. Each album there seemed to be more and more, but those first albums, you know, We Are the Two Live Crew and Move Something. I mean, there wasn't pure hardcore sex like naughty nursery rhymes or, you know, Fuck Shop or things like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. They had it that way. There was a Luke side, a Marquis side, a Fresh Kid Ice side, and a Mr. Mix side. I think that came because there was 2 vinyls with the whole album. Each one had their own side. So that was kind of slick, you know, marketing right there. So Coolin'. Yeah, that is a good song. That should have at least made my honorable mentions. But I will talk about that album, 1989's As Nasty as They Want to Be. And I'm going with their most iconic song, Me So Horny. It's iconic. It's iconic Two Live Crew. It's their biggest hit commercially. Just for its status alone, I felt it had to make my list and be at least top 5. And even beyond how legendary it is, I still like the song. It's still a dope song. You got the great samples from Full Metal Jacket. What are you getting for $5? Anything you want. Classic video. People who haven't seen this video, Brother Marquis is on this phone that's about this big, inflatable phone, And then when he's talking, he's going, yeah, remember that? Then he's down on all knees acting like he's pissing on the TV and shit like that.
Trying to eat a fake dog bone.
Right. Just the most bananas car ever. And this was just after Fresh Kid Ice's car accident. His arm is still wrapped up and in a sling. For those who don't know, he half paralyzed his left arm. So anytime after this period, you'll see his arm is usually either tucked close to him or in some kind of sling because he couldn't move it. This really brought a lot of non-hip hop heads to Two Live Crew because this was at least getting played the edited version on some radios and whatnot. So had to make my list. Me So Horny, number 5. What do you got, Surreal?
From Move Something, Do Wah Diddy. And that tape, those first two came out when what I would call more of a tape era, and we weren't old enough to go to clubs yet, and the Miami bass sound really wasn't in the clubs much, I don't think, in Omaha and the Midwest yet. But so those first couple albums, they were with the same with like Too Short and like Bass at 8 Miami and Ron C and Nemesis from in Texas. It was our bass tapes. So Move Something, Do Wah Diddy, but it we had it, everybody had the 12s and the 15s, and it was considered more of a bass tape kind of until Me So Horny video hit Yo MTV Raps. Then that's kind of when the Midwest, I feel, embraced them as more than like a bass group. That sounds like I'm dissing, and I'm not. It's just I just remember those first two tapes were more for In the Ride.
Definitely Move Something tape was the first time I heard Two Live Crew, and and I'm in the Midwest too. So you're right, it didn't instantly make its way to the Midwest at all. And I looked at them as a bass group probably even after Me So Horny in a lot of ways, because to me they were a lot of bass music. It was just that Miami sound, especially from that era. I mean, that was what Miami was putting out. No, that's a good track. Do Wah Diddy, great flip on that old 60s song, funny as hell. Number 5, what do you got, Raven?
I got the Fuck Shop from Nasty As They Wanna Be. It's a great song. Classic Two Live Crew sound. I guess I didn't go through and listen to the clean versions because I would have liked to checked out the Funk Shop. I might have to go back to that one. But yeah, I think the Fuck Shop was just always one of those songs that stood out to me on that album.
I agree. That was one that everyone always went to. One of a handful of them. Number 5, Kane, what do you got?
I got Do Wah Diddy also. Another one that still comes on and singing it the rest of the day. Like another one that I think of making up different stuff too, after I'm singing it.
Well, we'll go right to number 4, 1988's Move Something.
There you go.
Do Wah Diddy.
There you go.
It's always was a personal favorite of mine. Like you said, you're singing it all day. Back in '88, I thought this was the coolest type of song. I just loved it. They flipped a classic from the 60s and put explicit, crazy sex rhymes over it. And like I said, Move Something was the first tape of Two Live Crew that I heard. And this was definitely the standout to me, especially at that point in time, Do Wah Diddy. And Mr. Mix actually raps on here, which is a very rare thing for any era of Two Live Crew. But Mr. Mix does 2 of those verses. Great parody, has a special place in my heart. Do Wah Diddy. Number 4, Surreal, what do you got?
I got Me So Horny off Nasty As They Wanna Be as my number 4. I mean, I used to tape the Yo MTV Raps, the ones with Fat Five Freddy and Ed and Dre and T Money and so I had some of their tapes before then, but that was the first time I believe I saw them on television with Me So Horny, other than maybe news.
Right. That's a good one. Me So Horny. Number 4, what do you got, Raven?
You had a little break, but I'm going to go back to 1988's Move Something to Do Wah Diddy. That shit used to always kill me. It just making what STDs is basically what the song's about, just dirty ass bitches and shit.
Right. Summer's Eve.
And I just used to crack up during the wash your pussy. I don't know. So that song had to make my list.
Yeah, anytime I saw a commercial for Summer's Eve, I was singing that Two Live Crew song every fucking time. Kane, what do you got at number 4?
I got The Real One, featuring Ice-T. The harmony of this song is probably what attracts me right away. I like that it's called The Real One and the title track, and then it featured Ice-T on it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I was like, oh, a title track, oh, featuring Ice-T. And,
Sold.
yeah, right.
Yep.
His verse is dope. The whole song's dope. I love the harmony.
Yeah, and Marquis kills it on that song, I think, he totally brings it. Ice kills it, and I know I'm biased, but even objectively, such a great song. Such a great song, the real one. I'm glad it made not everyone's list. I'm glad it made 2 of your lists repping for the Iceberg. So we are to the top 3. And I'm going once again back to that tape I played and dubbed for friends. 1989's As Nasty as They Want to Be. And I'm going to the fuck shop. Kids might have heard of Two Live Crew because of Me So Horny, but they made dubs of this tape because of the fuck shop.
Yeah.
It samples songs by Guns N' Roses and Van Halen. It's just classic Two Live Crew. Stories of going to the brothel, the fuck shop. Classic line. And you got Luke's part at the end that's memorable. And when I hear songs like this, for some reason, I always think it would be so cool to be at those studio sessions when they were recording it. It had to be awesome. It had to be just laughing their ass off. So thank you for fucking at the fuck shop. That's my number 3. Surreal, what is yours?
Mine's the title track, Move Something, Move Something. The samples, it kind of had that. It kind of had that. It was, when it came out, it was new school, but it was kind of old school meets new school. And of course, the bass just dumps on it. I mean, it was just, I remember my one of the neighbor kids had that Move Something, and then he had like Techmaster PEB. Remember that one? There was no rapping, it was just bass drops. And I think he had DJ Magic Mike too. And those were like his 3 to go. We could, he's one of those kids we could hear him like 6-7 blocks away, and Move Something was one of the tapes. And it's just a good song, in the ride, or just if you just throw the album on and listen to it, it's classic old school hip hop.
It is, and that was on my honorable mention list as well. And you also brought up Nemesis before, which I wanted to touch on. Man, I had that Nemesis tape. Nobody else.
Munchies for your bass?
Yeah, no one else knew about Nemesis by me. So I think it's great that, a couple hundred miles away in Omaha, you were checking out Nemesis while I was here in Wisconsin. It just, you don't hear that name very much anymore, but I had that tape, yeah.
Yeah, we had MC, Ron C, and even DOC Feel It Fresh. Because Nebraska, all the Texas groups, we knew about like Ghetto Boys, the Making Trouble. Like all the Texas groups came up to Nebraska like pretty quickly, just because we're right above there. I mean, not right. There's Kansas and stuff, but for some reason the Texas stuff made it to us quicker than like the Florida stuff, which is funny because talking about now, but people don't realize how slow the internet was. If you even had it was the AOL dial-up. So, because like when I talk about how slow it took to get up here, like you would have to read like the Source or Rap Sheet, or maybe Vibe was, or even Spin or Rolling Stone once in a while. But you'd have to either read the magazines or watch MTV Raps or BET. Or get you could get on record pools or mixtape circuits from like LA and San Francisco and New York, but it had a trickle to your state,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And one of my, I subscribed to the Source Rap Pages. Remember that? It was like a newspaper. Double XL.
Yeah. I remember the one with EV on the front.
Yeah. But one of my favorite parts of getting the Source each month was the full page advertisements, because I'd be like, oh, he's got a new album. Oh, Ghetto Boys have a new album, because that's where I found out.
Rap Sheet was the newspaper, Rap Sheet, and then Rap Pages was another.
Yeah.
And then Murder Dog had like E40 and Tech Nine and like Brother Lynch and all that way underground stuff too. But I'm going off on a tangent.
Yeah, this era there was no one was using the internet. You literally had to wait for it to physically make its way to your state and city. And I don't remember how I got the Nemesis tape, but I remember like nobody knew who the hell Nemesis was, and I was trying to push it on people like, check this out, check this out. But then again, I was always pushing shit on people. I probably annoyed a lot of people because I'm like, you got to hear this new album. They're probably like, get the fuck away from me, you idiot. But now I'm on a tangent. I think we're on number 3, right? Raven, what is your number 3?
Me So Horny from the Nasty As They Wanna Be. Just an iconic song, the Full Metal Jacket sample. It's been, referenced in pop culture and throughout everything since that song came out. It's one of those songs that made an impact.
And Mr. Mix does a great job mixing that sample into the hook. I mean,
flawlessly.
It is,
and the video was funny as shit on that video.
It is. I rewatched it. I was like, damn, this is just crazy. Marquise is just fucking going crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how else to say it. And where the hell do you find an inflatable 5-foot-high phone?
Right.
What kind of stores they got down in there, Miami?
When he's pushing the buttons start popping off and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit's funny. Number 3, Kane, what is yours?
I got Me So Horny. Just like Raven said, iconic song. You can put it on and most people know it. I got a funny story about that song. We were talking about recording off the radio, and that was one of the songs that I got. So I would play it and sing along to it. And I came out in the living room singing it one time, and my mom's like, "What'd you say?" And I told her. She's like, then I had to have this whole conversation about what horny meant. And it was this whole educational thing that she was trying to I was like, oh, fuck. Like,
you got the birds and the bees talk.
Riding in the car with my dad, it comes on the radio. He cranks it up. He thought it was funny as shit. Like,
yeah. So Two Live Crew help you get the birds and bees talk from everyone.
Yeah. I remember this. I went on a road trip once and I had anybody in the posse and Bitch is a Bitch came up and it was my dad and I in the car and he just thought it was great. 8th grade or something.
It is. I mean, that shit still gets me. Songs like A Bitch is a Bitch are a little problematic in 2023, but they still
they are.
They are, but no, I was bumping them at that time too. No, that's a great story.
I think it's funnier because obviously you're not gonna you don't talk like that when you just go around, but the memories are funny because it's so silly, kind of.
It is. I actually was thinking, I'm gonna go off another sidebar, but looking back at these songs at my age now is kind of how I look back at a group like ICP. Like, it's so ridiculous and far flung.
Yeah,
it's crazy that people get so pissed off about it because it's so crazy that it's not reality. So I look at it so much different now, just for what it is. Just how crazy, how explicit can you be? And they showed they could be pretty damn explicit and crazy. All right, number 2. Banned in the USA in 1990. I had to put this high, like I said before, for the significance not only to other rappers, but any artist. So the backstory, for those that don't know, they were told they could not perform explicit lyrics at their live show. They went and started performing explicit lyrics, got arrested for being obscene, and they fought it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court and won. Now that's hard to do for a 1990s rap group that are all black in America. It's pretty fucking amazing that they didn't just get railroaded and that Luke took it all the way. And Luke's autobiography, if no one's read it, it's actually a really good book. He talks about all the stress he was under because he felt the weight, like all of hip hop was watching, all of heavy metal was watching, all these type of genres. And he was pumping millions of dollars of his own money to fight this. It's a really good autobiography if no one out there has read it. Great sample. It's a spin on Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. And then Luke talking at the end of the verse almost still gives me goosebumps. I don't know. It's just such an important historical moment for art, hip hop. I put this up here with the Fight the Powers as far as importance on a social level. So it had to be way super high. Number 2, Band in the USA is mine. What about you, Surreal?
Well, kind of to segue that, Luke was also, you know, when Public Enemy and Def Jam had to release Professor Griff, Luke signed Professor Griff, and he
Yes.
put out, I think, that Pawns in the Game was real sick. And I remember I think he did 3 albums maybe with Luke. I don't remember. I think so. There was Chaos of Wisdom, but
Chaos of Wisdom's, I
and then
remember that one.
obviously Poison Clan and the Luke solos, Cowards of Compton. I mean, that just over the years, just him as owning a label owner, he just did so many important things for hip hop culture and just in the scenes. And so yeah, we're talking about the funny, dirty rhymes too, but like behind the scenes, he made some really big, bold moves. So props to Luke and his whole team. But my number 2, the old school, Is What We Are, get it, girl. It's just got that old. It kind songs like that had to be what kind of influenced 666 Mafia and stuff with the, you know, the way they sampled the hooks and repeated them and stuff. And Get It Girl, once again, the bass just dumps on that one. I mean, it'll just blow your speakers out.
That was also on my honorable mentions. So you're right. You know, I never even connected those dots. It does kind of remind me of that Memphis 3-6 Mafia a little bit. You could see influence there, whether it was an influence or not. But I see the connection, and I never made that connection before, so that's kind of interesting. Raven, number 2 in your heart.
I went with Dirty Nursery Rhymes from '89's As Nasty as They Want to Be. It cracked me up. I was fucking young as shit, like 8 or 9, and I just remember dying to that shit. And then, of course, Andrew Dice Clay did it in the comedy, and that shit used to kill me too. So, just classic 2 Live Crew, retelling classic nursery rhymes, but like 2 Live Crew. So that had to be like pretty high up on my list.
And just like the Fuck Shop, this was another one the kids were going to. They'd play the Fuck Shop, and then we'd play Dirty Nursery Rhymes, because every kid knew the original nursery rhyme they were talking about. So you knew it was going to get, you know, any kid, it would pop them. Number 2, Kane, what do you got?
Pop That Pussy. But I thought it was Pop That Coochie for a long time.
Well, the edited version is.
Yeah,
there is.
Yeah. I you know, like you said, the funk shop.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like older when I was like, oh, Pop That Pussy. Like, oh, it's not Pop That Coochie. Like, I thought it was Pop That Coochie forever.
Yeah.
But another one,
keep going.
An iconic song from them. And you know, I remember it starting a whole like, damn, popping that pussy for, you know, dropping it way low. And I remember all that.
And since we're talking about that album, another thing that I had this hanging on my wall.
Oh yeah.
Pulled out poster, you know, but the girl, I thought that was so cool. No, that's funny. You didn't know it was Pop That Pussy. No, and like I said, they made edited versions of like everything. And if it was, you know, some of the albums, there'd be songs they just took off, you know.
Yeah.
But
some would just be instrumentals.
Right. But to do that, that's another thing. Luke's giving options to kids who are, you know, so there's no reason to be. I mean, he's performing for adults, like he says in Band in USA. I mean, he's going so far as to make all these clean versions. Pop That Coochie / Pussy. That's a good one. That's why I was on my list earlier, which brings us to number 1. I'm going to stop rambling. And once again, I got to go back to 89's Nasty as They Want to Be. It just is too iconic. There's other ones I wanted to, you know, fit, but I mean, I played this tape out. Dirty Nursery Rhymes. I had to. This number 1 pick was for Teenage Chris. All the kids in 89 were reciting this song after hearing this album. You know, you were in school, you know, doing these dirty nursery rhymes. So many funny lines. Mr. Mix scratches the shit out of the hook, and that even stood out to me as a kid, how dope the scratching was. And when I'm 80, this song will still make me laugh. I know it will. I'll bob my head, be impressed with the scratching, and laugh my old ass off. Dirty Nursery Rhymes, number 1. Surreal, what's your number 1?
I need to mention this. In the early 2000s, I opened for the 2 Live Crew. It was Buck Bowen, another Omaha rapper, and I. we got asked to open. It was actually Fresh Kid Ice and I think either Mix or one of the other ghetto style DJs touring for one of Fresh Kid Ice's solo albums, but he was billing it as the Two Live Crew. And he did a ton of stuff from their whole discography, and it was actually a really fun, really good time. But I had forgot about that until just now. And I remember it was at like some shady strip club type place. It was amazing. It had to be around like 2004 if I remember right. But anyway, my number one has to be, because I still DJ, and I don't care if it's grandparents, if it's little kids, Big Booty Hoes, Pump With It, Hoochie Mama from Friday transcends. It's crazy too, because as many platinum albums and as much controversy as they called, I can play Hoochie Mama even maybe at a church picnic and everybody will dance. It is one of those universal songs up there with like the Black Eyed Peas and Tribe Called Quest and stuff. Like everybody knows it. Hoochie Mama.
It is. You cannot sing along with that hook. There's no way you're not answering Luke.
Yeah.
When he says you ain't nothing but a Hoochie Mama, right? Raven, what made number one for you?
Well, from the first bass line, you automatically know Hoochie Mama's coming on.
Big Booty Hoes.
Yep, and I messaged you and I was like, LOL, my list is just Hoochie Mama times 10. Because it's just, that beat is so killer. It was one of my favorite little parts of Friday that doesn't really get looked at a lot. That shit was hilarious in the movie too. Every time the girl came around, that fucking song was playing, and that just, I cracked up back in '96 from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hoochie Mama, there was never going to be anything other than that for number one to me.
I think this soundtrack had keep their heads ringing, Ice Cube's Friday, all these classic songs.
That Cypress Hill song,
Cypress Hill.
Oh yeah, the whole soundtrack is crazy dope. But Two Live Crew still stand out, which against people like Cube, and I know Scarface is on there, Dre. I mean, that's impressive. So I totally understand why it made your guys number one. Kane, what made your number one?
Should be Hoochie Mama. Should have been Hoochie Mama.
You should have just kept your mouth shut. You could just secretly.
We would have never known.
No, it's Shake a Little Something. Every time this song goes on, I don't care if it's cold out or whatever, the volume in the truck goes up to 20 something, the windows come down, and it is everything that I think Two Live Crew is. The bass, the booty, the dirty lyrics. It's definitely a track that brings me back to a point in time.
Yeah, it is. It is classic Two Live Crew sound. But there we did it. And talking about honorable mentions for those first time listeners, if a song did not get brought up by anybody, and I think it at least should get named, I bring it up in my honorable mentions. If someone mentioned it, I'm not even going to say it. So I only have a couple that weren't mentioned. One I couldn't believe no one mentioned was If You Believe in Having Sex, Say Hell Yeah. As far as call response songs, I mean, that's maybe one of the best ones ever. Baby, Baby, Please, just a little more head. Ugly as Fuck always made me laugh. And Come On, Babe. Otherwise, everything else was brought up. The Two Live Crew. But I think we proved they were more than just sex rhymes, talking on big telephones. They were a deeper group. And you're right, Surreal. Luke did so much for other artists. Poison Clan, which doesn't get enough respect. I mean, JT Money had some success solo, but those Poison Clan albums were so dope. And I know Kane can attest to that. He's a Poison Clan fan. So much Luke did for the industry, for the city of Miami, for Liberty City, where he's from. I know he's done a lot for that community. Again, if you haven't read the book, it's worth your read. It's not too long. And he's a deeper guy. He runs football leagues down there, and he does a lot for the community. So Luke is more than just call response, sex rhymes. So we're back. We're going to do the second part of season 3. This is the start of it. I thank you all for coming. Two Live Crew. It was a great trip down memory lane to listen to these songs again that I don't listen to on a regular basis. So it was cool. Peace.
B-boy, from the old to the new, still a B-boy, too bold for the school. school, still a b-boy. East coast to the west, b-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed. Still a b-boy, from the old to the new, still a b-boy. Too bold for the school, still a b-boy. East coast to the west, b-boys worldwide, we supposed to be blessed.